Recording. Hey, everybody, it's Melissa Martinez with the Pulaski County Health Department here again. It is Friday, so you know what that means. We're talking all things fitness. Today, I have a very unique guest and a very unique topic. So, as many of you guys may know, we have an event coming up on August 14th. It's called our Battle of the Bands, and it's an event focused on bringing to you resources, not only concert, but resources to help with addiction recovery, prevention, and education. And so today I've got one of my really close runner friends. He's a real good friend of mine. I just love him to death. His name is Ed Green, and he is actually a recovering addict who has used running to help him stay sober. So without going further into that, I'm going to let Ed introduce himself. Ed, can you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I started my recovery probably 40 years ago. I know that's a long time for some people. Some weren't born yet. But I've used running throughout the years, it's not just about running because recovery is not just removing drugs and alcohol from your life. Recovery is way beyond that. A lot of people can stop using drugs or alcohol and have a pretty sorry life, even after they do that. So, it just takes a lot of tools, and running is one of the great tools that I've used to help with the things in life.
So Ed, let's go back to that day 40 years ago. What started you? First of all, how old are you, and what started you on that path?
Well, I'm 61, and I actually started in recovery when I was in the military. I was from a young age, pretty much almost from the first drink. I was an alcoholic probably. It just something in me is probably missing or something. The thing that tells you to stop or to slow down just wasn't there. And I found from an early age, whether it be drugs or alcohol, that in the beginning it gave me things that I didn't have. It made me feel relaxed. It made me be able to approach women and talk to them. It just gave me a lot of positive things, what I felt early on when I first started using drugs and alcohol. But over the years of using it, it pretty much turned on me, and my life was just a wreck. I was married at the time. My wife had left me. I was no showing for work in the military, which is AWOL. And really contemplating suicide. I mean, I was at rock bottom. There was nowhere else to go, and for some strange reason, I just decided one morning that I would reach out and say, hey, I have a problem. I wasn't willing to say I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drug addict. That wasn't in me yet. I didn't even understand what it was because I didn't grow up around it. I just said I have a problem and need some help. And so just by actually opening up to that one person who made the call that I needed, he called somebody in AA, and they said, well, do you have a problem with drinking? And I said, yeah, I do. And they didn't ask me to admit that I was an alcoholic or to commit to anything. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have gone forward. And then that went to my first AA meeting, 28th of July, 1981.
Wow. Yeah, wow. So Ed, let's talk about that. Let's talk about because what you and I are going to be talking about later about how running can help with addiction recovery. And it's not to take, or that's just movement in general, whether you're walking or whatever. And we'll get into that later. What we're saying to anybody out there listening, this is not to take the place of any recovery program you have. What we are offering is just an additional tool in your belt on top of everything else, on top of the other tools. So Ed, that being said, tell us a little bit about why AA helped you. What were the specifics about it?
Well, probably, even if I look back to my very first meeting I went to that night, and I was nervous and everything because I remember it like it was just yesterday. I went in, sat down, and somebody said, introduced themselves and said, well, let me just sit you up here. It's a speaker meeting. They set me up in the front row, and I was just so nervous. And then just hearing people talk about, about problems, about their life, And for so many years, I felt like you know, I was from a different planet. I didn't belong around other people. Nobody understood me. And all of a sudden, I just felt like these people understood me. They were saying things that I felt. They had feelings that I felt. It just kind of felt like I was in the right place all of a sudden. That maybe I wasn't the only one like me. So I was immediately, still nervous, but very attracted to it. And one of the things I remember is kind of funny. There was a bunch of what I call old timers, because I was 21 years old, and back then that was almost too young to be in a meeting. But they went to a coffee shop, and I went there with them. And when I was leaving, I was so nervous of being around these guys that just seemed like they've been sober and clean forever, and I was still shaking. And when I was walking out, they were all telling me, keep coming back, it gets better. And I just was looking at him in awe, and I forgot to open the door and walked into the glass door.
Oh my.
I was just so nervous, and I did that for a couple weeks, of going to meetings like that. But my life, and people would say, "How you doing?" And I would say, "I'm fine, I'm good," like as if it was, because my home life, there was nobody there. It was an empty house. My life was still a wreck. Just stopping, abstinence just wasn't cutting it. I had the shakes, going through withdrawals and DTs, and I would, I was paranoid. I'd lay in my bed at night with a knife or a gun in my hand under the pillow, thinking that people were coming to get me, so I could be ready for them. And going to counseling. And one day they just asked me, "When's the last time you thought about killing yourself?" I said, "Well," I looked at my watch. I said, "I don't know, 5 or 6 hours ago." And I didn't leave. They didn't let me leave, and they put me on a plane to Maryland, and I went to treatment.
Wow. Ed, would you say that, obviously, would you say that you have an addictive personality?
Um,
Do you
yeah,
go
I
all
mean,
in?
I go all in on things. I mean, I would say I'm super. Most people would say I'm obsessed today or OCD about my running and all, just because I'm a very organized. My job requires me to be extremely organized and plan, and I've always been that way. But I think that my addiction was more than just going all in. It's just it's a physical problem. Even it's just no matter even 40 years later, it's just one of those things that they always say that one is too many and 100 is not enough. It just doesn't work for me. To drink or to
Yeah.
do any mind altering chemicals doesn't work for me.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that. And for all those listening, I'll just give you kind of a little bit of background on Ed. Both of us are ultra runners. We love doing distances over 26.2 miles, which is the standard marathon distance. And Ed, you just finished another 100 miler, um, which is unfathomable for a lot of people listening. But let's talk about how both you and I have been around addicts. That's just kind of in the circle when you get in the ultra running world, because ultra running has been used a lot to replace one addiction with another, because running feels good. It just, you have your feel good chemicals, and then you also have a support system, you have a family, but you also have a goal. I mean, because when you and I train for these 100 milers, I mean, they consume us. That's it. They the goal dictates what time we go to bed, who we hang around with, what we eat. I mean, and all that. So, kind of tell me a little bit about that, about how, in your opinion, that it's kind of helped you stay on the straight and narrow. Would you kind of agree with that, or?
Sure. One of the things that marks whether it be a drug addict, an alcoholic, or even there's lots of other things that people, as use running for. That not everybody is an ex-addict or anything, but people who deal with depression, self-esteem issues, just mood disorders, loneliness. There's lots of things that running can help with, but being an addict in particular, in my case, one of the things that went with my lifestyle was a failure to complete anything, failure to have any goals, to feel any self-worth. Basically, most things I failed because I either failed to start or I quit thinking I would fail, or I didn't want to, somebody to see me. So I quit everything I ever started. I never achieved anything in
Mm-hmm.
life. I didn't feel like I could do anything. So with running, starting out in shorter distances, I completed a 5K, which I didn't think I could ever run 3.1 miles without walking, and that was just one of the greater achievements of my life. So I started realizing that maybe I can achieve something, and then whether it's the 5K or 100 miles, the concepts are the same. You set a goal. You have to look at what are the things I need to do to achieve that goal, and there's a lot of commitment involved in that. You don't go out and run 100 miles. You run well over 1,000 miles just to get to the starting line, in training, and
Mm-hmm.
so it just teaches you a lot in life about having that commitment, the patience, the perseverance, how to deal with setbacks,
Mm-hmm.
how to deal with whether it be injuries, the stresses in life as you're doing it. There's just a lot of qualities that running teaches you and helps you to learn. And as I've progressed in my distances, I keep thinking that, early on when I did a half marathon, I could never do a marathon. I mean, those people are idiots, that run that far. Um, but eventually I said, well, it became a challenge to me. And I was afraid of failing at the Bass Pro Marathon or the Belleville Marathon because there's people there. They would see me and I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be, I would just, they would make fun of me. So I went and ran the Katy Trail 50K, which you were there when I ran my first 50K,
Yep. Yep.
because I figured there would not be anybody there to see me fail, and I wanted to know if I could run that far before I went and ran in front of people. It's just my mindset,
Wow.
of even after doing that or running a 50-mile race, I always have that fear of failure, and there's times today that I'll admit I've run over 100 races, 130 races, and lots of ultra races, and there are still times when the starting line is a hard thing for me. Just the stress of showing up and feeling like I belong,
Mm.
at that line with other people, around other people, and but the friends that you make in running, they make that easier. They're just we have such a close running community that accepts everybody, that supports each other,
Mm-hmm.
and and that's one of the things you also get from the running community is people who deal with whether it be depression or self-esteem issues. They get people that lift them up. You don't have to have that loneliness, that separation that you have. It's a good group of people that are making healthy choices in life through running, for their diets. There's just so many positive things about being involved in a running community. Like Melissa has up in Waynesville, they meet regularly and have runs. It's just much more than running. It's a social group.
Mm-hmm. It is. And Ed, it's not just a social group, it's a support group.
Hmm.
It's for some reason, and I think with running, unlike any other sport, because you are so laid bare when you get out there. You don't have People don't know what kind of job you have. They don't know what kind of car you have. They don't know how much money's in your bank account. We're all on an even playing field when it comes to running. And I just noticed, and as a pacer, you and I have the unique blessing of getting runners from point A to point B. But once they get in your group, they don't know you from anybody. I mean, they just don't.
Hmm.
And I found that because runners are so laid bare, we open up.
Hmm.
There's not those barriers, and that's one thing about the groups. Um, is that they're just an opportunity to lay everything down on the line because there's that saying, what happens on the long run stays on the long run.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's pretty much nothing's off limits. It seems like when we're out running, we get to know each other very well, or
Mm-hmm.
we suffer together. In some of these really long runs, or if you're out running 100 miles and you're going through hallucinations, you're sick. It's just you just see people at their wits' end. They're crying.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to make it so glamorous and all here, but
It's true. No,
everybody's
it's
going to want to
true.
do it now, right?
Well, it
And
makes me want to do it.
yeah, it's just really difficult. I mean, if you think you want an ultra run because it's something easy, you're mistaken. It's not easy, and it's because it's not easy that it's worth it because of that. It's a challenging thing, or even a half marathon. Pacing
Mm-hmm.
people at Bass Pro that you and I do every year whether it be a half marathon or marathon. My favorite thing is I see people achieve something that they never dreamed, never thought
Yes.
they could accomplish
Yeah.
in life. It's
Mm.
just so it just gives me a thrill to see people cross that line and to see that expression on their face. This last year, many of your friends were in my running group, pace group,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
it just was one of the biggest finishes I've ever had was to see them finish.
Oh my gosh, those girls had such a good time. They're still talking about it. I don't think they'll ever
Yeah.
forget their experience there. But so that brings me to the point of for those out there listening, one of the reasons to get into running, or it doesn't have to be running, it can be CrossFit, it can be anything that you do to get your body moving as a group. But the increased self-esteem, because I'm like you as a running
Hmm.
coach. I deal with a lot of different people, and that's one of the side effects of picking a goal and reaching it is that increased self-esteem,
Hmm.
and that's crucial to have, because a lot of times, like you said, when it comes to addiction, and we're not just talking drugs or alcohol, when it comes to anything like that, that it could be depression, could be food, but that increased self-esteem, every time you increase that, you gain strength to cope, and you
Hmm.
also gain strength to press forward without having to have any of those crutches. Would you agree with that?
Sure, it helps you. Sure, it helps you a lot with self-esteem because you accomplish, small goals along the way. It helps you with depression. It makes you sleep better. It gives you energy. There's just so many things that it does. I mean, it just, I'll make another confession here, and maybe I'm admitting that I am a addicted personality by doing this, but I ended up smoking for several years. I didn't when I was young, but many years back, of course, after my active addiction, I ended up spending some time incarcerated, and I didn't have any vices, so to fit in, probably I started smoking, which
Hmm.
went on for several years. I mean, you should never start. Once you start, it's hard to quit. Well,
Yeah, it
I
is.
did quit smoking, and several years back when I started running, and it was one of the greatest tools. Also, could have used to help me with the withdrawals from smoking. Because I heard people gain weight, and also it kept me from gaining weight and eating too much, and so it's also a great tool for people who want to choose to quit smoking, and plus if you're going to get into doing healthy exercise, whether it be running, CrossFit, you realize what you're sabotaging your life by smoking. So
Yes.
it's a great tool for that too, for those of you who do smoke, whether it be actively or a closet smoker like I thought I was, which was not. It's a great tool for that too. So if you're thinking about quitting smoking, it would be one of the best decisions of your life.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there, because I was also a closet smoker for years, up until
Hmm.
I got pregnant with my son, and it's a super super hard habit to quit. But you're right, you just when those cravings hit, you go for a run, and then you get another craving, you go back out, and it helps, really helps to fight it. And once you start
Hmm.
running, you know that you cannot, it's kind of like burning the candle at both ends. You just can't do it. You cannot
Hmm.
continue in an active addiction like that and be able to run well, because it just won't work. But
Hmm.
science, we're talking about science, and I'm looking at some information here from the Edgewood Health Network. But I've done a lot of research on this, and science has shown that there's a couple other great things that have to do with running specifically. But like we talked about, it could be any other movement. It increases our mental clarity, which
Hmm.
it also helps heal our brain, which I find amazing, that running can actually help mitigate the damage that has been done on the brain. And
Sure.
it says that evidence suggests that running can help reverse brain damage that resulted from substance abuse, which is amazing. Improves our mood,
I'm
which of
I'm
course,
still waiting for that one, but
oh, the brain. Well, we will never be right in the head, Ed, because of what we do. I mean, it's
most
just
people
not
think, yeah,
normal.
there's something wrong. Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
not.
by running, they think I got brain damage.
It's just not normal to limp across the finish line of a 100-mile race and have on your mind, when can I do this again? That is,
Yes,
yep, that.
especially since I have plans for a 200 miler next year.
Yeah, we're gonna have people out there are going to get you the help that you need in a rubber room. Ed. I think they're lining up at the door.
Yeah.
But it does help heal your brain, and it does give us mental clarity, but helps improve the mood, which every time you
Sure.
have that mood, you don't need that drink or that pill or, you know, whatever that is to improve your mood, because running can do that. It's hard for us to explain it to people, and it doesn't require a lot of running. You can get the same effects from, you know, get out there for a couple miles, get out to CrossFit, get your heart rate up, get those endorphins, reduces our
Hmm.
cravings, and then once again we go back, boost confidence, relieve stress. You know what I love about it,
Yep.
Ed? Anybody can do it.
So that's right.
Anybody can do
Anybody
it.
can, and it really, and you and I both have friends that really aren't even into running, which is fine. They just walk. They do all
Mm-hmm.
their miles with walking. They achieve their goals or through walking, and some of my training involves walking. Sometimes I just walk. I go
Mm-hmm.
down trails, and so you don't have to. The important thing is don't compare yourself to somebody else. What somebody
Right.
else is doing, or to measure yourself against somebody else. You have to have your own goals and learn to have satisfaction in what you achieve yourself, and not compare to somebody else.
Yeah, we've often said a lot that comparison is the thief of joy.
Hmm.
You know, it just does. It steals all your joy. You got to concentrate on what you can do today and look at what you can do and build on what you can do rather than somebody else. Because, you know, even if you're the best runner in the world, or, you know, the most in shape, there's still somebody out there that can beat you. It's just the way it
That's
works.
right.
And
Yeah.
it's not about that anyway. It's not about, you know, we're not paying the rent with it. We're not getting rich. We're enriching our health. We're enriching the health of those around us. We're being a part of a group. And like you said before, making those healthy choices.
Sure. We always have that saying that as a runner or people who actually do races and all, we celebrate finish lines, not finish times.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. So I want to stress that for anyone out there listening, that if you are starting at ground zero, congratulations, you got nowhere to go but up. And I guarantee you that any of the running groups that we're going to talk about um, will welcome you with open arms, because we all have been there, starting from the first step. Every one of us. I remember
Right.
doing my very first 5K thinking that it was the stupidest thing I've ever done. You know, that it really hurt to
Hmm.
put it
That's
mildly,
right.
but you just get back up and you do it again, and then you do it again, and then pretty soon you get hooked because you love being part of a group. They kind of push you,
Yeah.
and you know, pretty soon, if you never graduate from the 5K, if that's your race of choice and the distance that you love, you're welcome in the group, and you just keep doing it. So Ed, let's talk about some of those groups that people can be a part of, because you're a member like me of three of the biggest groups in the area. We got Ozark Mountain Ridge Runners,
Hmm.
which is in Springfield. And then we've got the Frog Fitness
Yes.
Group, of course, here in this area. And then we've got Team RWB, which is Team Red, White, and Blue. You can look up
Yep.
any one of those and get every one of those groups will welcome you with open arms, and they're a great place to
Sure.
start.
Yeah, and I'm with the Southwest Missouri Ultra Runners, and
Yep,
there's
I forgot
again
about
there's
that.
several. Joplin has group. Lake Ozark, if you're in the Ozark area, Lake
Mm-hmm.
Ozark Runners are a really active, great bunch of people. It really helps to be involved in a group of people, because almost probably, especially in Springfield, every day there's a group run. They have
Yes.
weekend group runs, and you're just a part of not being out there by yourself. And those people will encourage you. They'll accept you regardless, of what level you are. We all started the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody started from mile one. Nobody was ahead of anybody else. So, I encourage people to show up. Or Melissa has, was it Saturday mornings you guys do your
Mm-hmm.
runs?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I go out there, and be honest with you, sometimes I go out there and run with you guys just because you're just the funnest bunch of people. If I just want to have a really good, fun time, relaxing time, I go up there and run with you and all the people up there. Just almost a social thing, because I could run by myself, but it's just not the same.
No, we do have fun, and you know, let's throw that out there again. 9 times out of 10, we end up pushing ourselves to go further than we had planned.
Hmm. Yeah, you'd be amazed. Most people, the limits that we set on ourselves are false limits.
Hmm.
People are kind of accustomed in life. David Goggins would always talk about this 40%. You achieve 40% of what you're capable of, because as soon as you hit a point, whether it be running or anything in life, where you feel a little discomfort, you think, "Whoa, I better stop.
Yeah.
This is not
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. So you stop it but you're capable of so much more in life, and that's
Mm-hmm.
running will teach you that. You get in a group that pushes you a little bit, and you think, I did today twice what I thought I could even do. My mind is limiting me by putting these false ceilings on what I can achieve in life. And each time you break through that ceiling, you can set that higher. And being a part of a group helps you to break through that ceiling over and over again.
Oh gosh, that was very well put, Ed. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So, wow. Well, Ed, I want to thank you for your time, and I want to reach out and tell people out there, to our listeners, if you're looking for more information, you can contact me at the Pulaski County Health Department at 573-736-2217. You can go on our Facebook page. You can check out Healthy Futures Pulaski County. Any of these groups, Ed, please let me know if I missed somebody. Ozark Mountain Ridge Runners, Frog
Hmm.
Fitness Group, Team RWB, Lake Ozark Area Runners. What's that Joplin group? If you guys are in Joplin.
Yeah, I don't know what the group they call themselves, and then you get further up by St. Louis, you got the Daily Run Club, the DRC people that I run with sometimes, that do the Katy Trail one we do. Those are the
Hmm.
DRC people, Daily Run Club. So they're just everywhere.
Yeah, just probably a Google search or a Facebook search will get you. And just
Hmm.
don't be afraid to reach out. Like Ed said, we all started off at mile one, and we don't forget that. And most runners, I'd say 99% of runners, are overjoyed to mentor a younger runner because we love to share our love for the sport because we know how good it was for us. And we really like planting those seeds and drawing people into the group.
Sure.
Yeah.
And anybody's
Well,
welcome to reach out to me personally, if they don't want to do it in a public setting or something. If they're welcome to contact me directly.
and you can find Ed Green on Facebook, and I will tell you out there listening that he means what he says. He's one of the most genuine people I've ever met in my life. Ed, everybody loves you, and there's a reason. We're blessed to have you in our group, and was blessed to talk to you today. And I just want to thank you, and thank you for your honesty and your transparency and your tips and just everything that you do.
All right. Thanks for letting me talk with you today.
All right, Ed, I will see you July 17th for our Ultra Sweaty Santa if I don't see you sooner than that.
I'll be there.
All
Okay.
right, you have a great day.
All right. You too. All right.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
bye-bye.